As many of you know, I have been collecting every single Pokemon card. Over the last 4 months now, I guess, I've been trying to collect a master set of every single unlimited release that Pokemon has ever put out. And specifically, we're talking about like main series set releases and then the half set releases like Shining Fates, Hidden Fates, Dragon Majesty, every single set release. And we set a goal to finish that journey by the end of 2026. There's two things I want to accomplish next year. I want to hit 1 million subscribers, so shameless plug, if you're not subscribed to the channel, if you could just do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And then I want to collect every single master set. It's been a dream of mine for as long as I can remember, and I've been collecting Pokemon cards for a very, very long time. And I've been tracking everything in the Collector app. So if you don't follow me on Collector, you can find me on there at Real dannyphantump on Collector. Collector is an awesome app. And my Collector portfolio right now shows me at $100,000. I just passed the $100,000 mark when it comes to master sets. The only thing that I have in there is my master set collection. I don't have anything else in there. Just all of these binders behind me. And I've got most of them in there. Most of them are at least started. I've got a lot of work to do in a ton of different sets, but they're at least started. I still have maybe like 10 more sets that I need to start bindering up and things like that. But $100,000 is pretty cool. But that's not what my collection is worth. It is what my collection is worth, but it's not what my collection is worth. Your collection is basically worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. If you come to the time where you decide that you want to sell it, your collection is basically worth whatever somebody is willing to pay for it. And I think that's something that's really important. Whenever the time comes, if the time ever comes, and there's nothing wrong with never selling, your collection is only worth what somebody is willing to pay for. Now, we have been in ebbs and flows of Pokemon for a very long time. And one of the things that, it doesn't necessarily bother me, but when you talk to somebody who's been maybe around in Pokemon for at least a little while, they talk about the ebbs and flows of Pokemon and how it always comes back around. Like it dips and then it comes back up and then it dips. It's very cyclical, right? And to an extent that is true, but I wanted to record a video just kind of talking about, I don't know if it's necessarily a warning. I see a lot of people right now buying a lot of Pokemon cards. And you can't go wrong if you're somebody who's collecting or investing. And there's a stigma, a negative stigma that goes along with dollar signs that are attached to your collection and looking at cards that have, money attached to them, a monetary number. People open up packs online and there's like a PSA 9 number or PSA 10 number or near mint raw number that floats up. There's nothing wrong with money being associated with your collection or cards. What I think takes away is when you only focus on that. I think when you're only focusing on the money side of what a card is worth, like you open up a Destined Rivals pack and really all you care about is that Team Rocket's Mewtwo because of the money associated with it, the $550 near mint raw or the $2,000 or whatever it is for a PSA 10. If you're only focusing on that, yeah, that's going to take away from all the fun of the hobby, everything of the hobby. And when people talk about the ebbs and flows of the business or of the cards, it's never been like this, and never. I've been involved in Pokemon for a very long time. I played Pokemon competitively in like 2014, 2015. I collected Pokemon a lot throughout the years. I got into Pokemon with like the release of Team Rocket, and I stayed involved in Pokemon pretty much throughout the early EX era. So like once Wizards of the Coast sold off everything to Nintendo and Nintendo took over, I was around for like a handful of sets after that. So Ruby Sapphire, like the first EXs that released, I was around for. I pretty much missed all of Diamond and Pearl. I missed all of Platinum. I missed, like those two were pretty much the main gens, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Call of Legends. Like I missed that stuff and then came back around Black and White. And you do have ebbs and flows, but it's been nothing like this. And I am genuinely concerned about the amount of money that some people are throwing into Pokemon. Now, there is a lot of money involved in Pokemon. Pokemon, I don't think necessarily wants it to be like this. I don't think they want cards to be impossible to find. I think they want to print enough product. And right now it's a little weird. And if you're following distribution, if you follow this channel or if you follow other channels and they talk about distribution, there's weird stuff that's happening that to me, and again, I could be wrong. Literally, guys, like I could be wrong all the time. I'm not an investor. I'm just somebody who's been involved in Pokemon for a long time that really genuinely cares about the growth of the hobby from a competitive standpoint, from a collector standpoint. I want you to be in the hobby forever. Like that's what makes this fun for me, is when you can share it with this giant group of people that you have this passion with. There is signs out there that maybe something is going on that we don't see, like all these delays. So we've had delays with Mega Evolution over in Europe. We've had delays for the Reshiram and Salamence Premium Collection, which was already supposed to be released, isn't coming out until the 24th. The Gengar battle decks are delayed, not coming out for like a couple weeks later. There's been delays. And then we had delays with the Elite Trainer box from Mega Evolution here in the States. And then it looks like we still haven't gotten notification of shipping yet for the second wave of Mega Evolution, which was supposed to come out 3 weeks after the initial wave. And then you have waived releases for the next set, which is Phantasmal Flames. The last time things went like this, and again, I could be super wrong here, a giant reprint came. A giant reprint came that really kind of stabilized the market. And I could be way off, and a giant reprint might not matter. It might not really impact anything. A giant reprint could come like February, March, April of 2026. Like that could happen, where they dump a ton of booster boxes on the secondary market. And that's almost, and I don't know, I don't have confirmation, I don't want to start rumors, but there's weird stuff that's kind of happening that could point to that, and it could reset the market. It could reset the market enough where the people who have been buying out stock like crazy and all the money that they've been putting into Pokemon might be kind of stuck. And I've seen a lot of reels lately, and I've seen a lot of people out there who have just they've amassed tons of different Pokemon products, sealed Pokemon, all over the place. And I think that when you talk about like the negative stigmas that go behind putting value, like a monetary number, on your collection, and how that's like icky or gross or whatever, when it turns into greed, that's when you run into issues. And I think that's where some people are getting right now. And that's where you really have to be careful. If you are somebody who's putting in all this stuff, all of your sealed collection in the collector app, and you're like, whoa, I just passed $100,000, there comes a time where that $100,000 could shrink quickly. And you only lose if you sell, right? Like that's the investor mentality. You only lose when you sell. It's only down when you sell. Like you keep holding, it'll go up, and diamond hands, like whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But once you get to the greed point where it's like you want every last nickel or every last dollar, and you're looking at maybe adding other pieces to your collection, there's nothing wrong with selling now. There's nothing wrong with getting rid of stuff now, because liquidity becomes such an important factor down the road. So when we went through the biggest boom that I really experienced from 2001 until 2015 was the release of Pokemon Go. That was probably the biggest boom when it came to Pokemon. That I can remember, and I could be wrong if you've been around longer than me, or maybe you were more fine-tuned in the market throughout, the early 2000s, mid-2000s. Maybe you remember differently. But Pokemon Go, and it wasn't like Pokemon products were hard to find at the time. You had this influx of people who wanted to play the game competitively. You had singles, like products were more liquid, they moved faster, but it wasn't like booster box prices had skyrocketed. You could still find anything you wanted at distribution. You could still find sets that were 7-8 years old at distribution. In 2015, 2016, I could order boxes from the black and white era at distribution. In 2020, I could order Furious Fists still at distribution, sets that were 7, 8, 9 years old. Now, obviously, you can't do that right now because things have completely changed. And this could be just the way the market is. But what if we go back to that? What if eventually we do go back to that, and you're sitting on tons of sealed inventory that might be worth a lot more, but that doesn't move because it's not as liquid? And I don't want to play the what if game. I guess I kind of do. I kind of do want to play the what if game because I want you to be careful. And there's going to be people out there who disagree with me, and that's totally fine. I just want to flip the script a little bit, Pheasantipity style, and just be like, hey, be careful. Be careful what you're putting away. Be careful what you're putting money into, because if you're somebody who's like buying out a Costco or buying out a Sam's Club and getting all these prismatic boxes, yeah, rip and ships are going to be around for a while, so the packs inside should be pretty good. But the idea of getting this giant premium on a sealed box that takes up a ton of space is going to be very difficult down the road, especially if you have tons of money spent on one product. If you're not being more liquid about your decision making, and there's always this, like, sometimes I'll get flack from investing channels, like who's investing in collection boxes or who's investing in this. A lot of people are. And that's important to remember, because people are coming into the hobby all the time. New people are coming into the hobby all the time. Or people who have been gone for 10 years. Or people who have been gone for 20 years that might have a little money. And they're watching investor channels. They're watching people who talk about investing in Pokemon, and they can't find booster boxes, so they're just buying whatever they can find at the stores because they're being told to hold on to anything. They're being told to hold on to sealed and it'll go up. So there are a lot of people. If you sit there, like I get requests almost daily from multiple people asking to buy their sealed collection. And they'll send me a list or a link or whatever from Collector, TCG Player, Pokelector, whatever link they might have their collection stored in. And it's a bunch of sealed products, you know, that basically to a storefront or a rip and shipper is only worth the pack contents inside. And very rarely will those pack contents add up to anywhere near the value of that collection box. And there's a lot of people who are buying all of just anything they can find. And they're buying it from wherever they can find it, from resellers, from scalpers, from anywhere, because they are struggling so much to find cards, and they're being told to hold on to all this inventory. So there's people buying all this stuff. And what happens if we do go back? And it's not going to happen overnight. But what happens if we do go back to like 2016, 2017, 2018, where there still is a large audience for Pokemon. There still is a lot of interest in Pokemon, but older stuff doesn't sell as frequently. And when it does, it just moves slowly. It moves very, very slowly, where you don't have all this stuff that's super liquid anymore, like what you do now. Like right now, everything is just flying off the shelves because there's so much demand behind it. But how long do you actually hold on to this giant excess in product? And that's when the greed factor can kind of ruin things. So if you're somebody who's got a ton of money invested into Pokemon, and you sell now, and let's say you make 40% margins. You make 40% on your margin, or 40% on what you put in. Is that really that bad? Like, is it going to be that big of a deal if a year from now I'm completely wrong and you could have sold your collection for 60% margin? Like, you still got that 40%, or at least sell off what you have invested, so that way you're not losing money in the future if you decide that it's time to move off from these products. Like, that's kind of the way my mentality. Maybe it's a little bit of a cynical mindset, because I have seen Pokemon just not have this giant reseller market mentality. Like, the way that I see it is Pokemon wants to make sure that their cards are available for the future of the brand. Like, Pokemon doesn't want their cards to be nowhere to be found. Like, they understand the secondary market exists. They understand that they're a collectible card game, as well as a trading card game, but stuff that's going to be ultra modern, stuff that people need to play, stuff that kids want to collect, like, they want that to be accessible. So, like, if they're printing a bunch of extra stuff and they're running their printers at max capacity, and we know that last year they got rid of the US feeding the EU as far as printing capacity goes, and they bought printers in the EU that are now feeding the EU, that means that Pokemon's able to print more in the US. And the fact that half of the cards that have ever been printed have been printed over the past few years, like, Pokemon has the capabilities of printing a lot. And now we have all these delays that are happening. I don't know, there's just signs to me that it's like, maybe this will get fixed. Maybe this will get better relatively soon. Like, a lot of people are like, well, it's not going to get better for a couple years yet, but maybe it will. Maybe it will start getting better, in 2026. Maybe like I said, March, April, May, maybe things start to improve. Like, do you really want to be sitting on all this giant excess inventory that you held, hoping for that extra $1 or that extra $2 or that extra $3? And I know, like I said, I could be wrong. But the business mindset in me is like, take your margins, be happy with it, and then move on to the next thing. And that is like exactly like when people talk to me about like, hey, you're an investor channel. I'm not an investor channel. I'm a very business oriented channel, and I have very old school mentalities when it comes to business. I sell at MSRP. As long as I'm buying at wholesale, I sell at MSRP. I take my margin. I'm thankful for that margin, and I move on because I remember the margin not existing. And if you're a storefront who's been around for a while, like myself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For years, you made no money on booster boxes. Literally none. No money on Elite Trainer boxes. You were lucky if you didn't lose money. You were lucky if you only lost $1 on a booster box because you were constantly competing with online stores and volume games and P-Football Pete selling booster boxes at $84, $85 a box when you were paying $82. And $84, $85 a box was the shipped price. So you're putting it in store at $90 and then you have people coming in, well, can I get that for $82 because that's what is posted online. Like that was the reality for years. And the reality was you could buy a black and white booster box in 2016 for $100. A set that was 6 years old, you could buy it for $100. What set is 6 years old right now? Sword and Shield base? Team Up is like a $2,000 box. That's not even right. Team Up is way more than $2,000 now. Cosmic Eclipse, like a $2,000 box. Like that's crazy because that was never the case. So a lot of people, I guess like me who are old, who have been around for a while, have seen Pokemon consistently at this point. And a lot of times you see people who have been around for a while, maybe, and they were buying stuff in 2015, 2016 or whatever, and it had this giant come up in 2020. But we've never experienced anything before like what we experienced in 2020. So the idea, I guess, and things obviously could change 20 years from now, we could go through this again. Very possible. But you have to be very careful with how much you're putting in, and you don't want to let greed take over. And if you're somebody out there who's just buying anything sealed that they possibly can, and you're storing it away, be happy with the margin, I guess, is kind of like the main point of this video, because I see a lot of people not knowing what to do and not knowing when to move off of stuff. Like if your goal is to collect Pokemon cards and you're like holding stuff so that way you can collect cards that you want, like we see there's card shows every week. We see all this mentality of Poncho Pikachus and Gold Stars and PSA 10s all over the place. And that should, hold value for a while. But it's all about liquidity. Eventually, things are going to phase out a little bit. It's happened with sports cards, right? Like it's still popular, but not nearly as popular as what it was during the pandemic. We've seen this happen with other trading card games like Magic. Still very, very popular, but not nearly as popular as what it was at one time. And the collector base changes, people change, people move on to something else. And you see this with fads all the time. Now, Pokemon clearly not a fad because it's been around for 30 years. So there's a lot more to it. But when that greed takes over and you start seeing warning signs and you start seeing people make bad decisions when it comes, questionable decisions. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody they made a bad decision. Questionable decisions. I'm never going to give you advice on how to collect or how to spend your money because it's your money. But I also, right now you can't go wrong in Pokemon. But eventually you will. Eventually we'll get to a time where things do go back in the other direction, or at least they chill and they level off and it's harder to move. It's harder to sell. It's not as in demand. Like right now you can list stuff on TCG Player, you can list stuff on eBay and it sells quickly, but it's not always going to be the case. And as somebody who's seen it not the case, I just wanted to give a warning to everybody right now. Don't overspend in the current market because it's very easy to do. And if you're holding on to a lot of extra stuff, if you're up, like be happy that you're up and move on and get something that you really want. Get something that you're not going to care in a year if it's worth less than what you bought it for. You're not going to care in 5 years if it's worth nothing because that was what you wanted so badly. That was what you dreamed of. Don't wait for that extra just dollar, don't let greed take over. This is a great hobby. It's a great game. It's a great company and it's a great community. And I just ultimately want people to be careful. And again, I know there's going to be comments saying that I'm wrong and that like it will, and maybe you're right. Maybe it will be. But as somebody who really genuinely does care about the success of the community. I just wanted to put that out there as kind of like just a mind reset, I guess, to make sure that you are making the best decision when it comes to spending your collection dollars. So I'm gonna stop rambling. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my thoughts. Who knows what's going to happen over the next several months, but there's signs pointing to maybe something big possibly happening. So I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long way for the algorithm. Share the video, do all the things. I love you guys. I'll be back in a couple days with another video. Till next time, peace.